All right, now, some time ago, I went and filled up with diesel down at Sainsburys. Now, you may well have seen the video. It was the one where they threw the coins back through the window, and the female police officer, the WPC, she asked for my details and then gave them to Sainsbury's so that they could fill out the no means to pay agreement. So this is just a little bonus video. So a couple of days after that event, I phoned up Sainsbury's and spoke to the manager. Had a little chat with him about what they were going, how they were going to proceed with it or whatever. So what follows is that recording of that video. I did actually phone him a week later, and he basically said that he's not prepared to discuss it because he thinks I might record him, and that's all he's got to say on the matter. So I didn't really even bother recording that one, to be honest. And I haven't heard from them since. So anyway, I haven't posted the video for one reason or another up until now, but I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the next video soon.
Hello, Paul speaking. Can I help you?
Yeah, hello there. Are you the manager?
I am indeed, yeah.
Hi there, Paul. Yeah, last night I came in and filled up with diesel, and there was a dispute about the payment, and the police were involved.
Yes, was it last night or the night before?
Sorry, you're right. Yeah, it was the night before. Yeah. Well, in conclusion, the money was thrown through the window, so you didn't get paid. I wondered how you wish to proceed with it.
Okay, right. Let me just dive in somewhere I can talk. So, as I understand it, we've processed it as a non-payment, and I probably need to find out and give you a call back of exactly how that proceeds. So, you're happy for me to do that?
Well, I think before you do that, I think we should discuss a number of other things as well. So there was the misuse of my data, which I'm not happy about. So the police officer used her powers as a constable to for me to give her my personal details. Okay. And then she divulged them with your staff, who filled out the no means to pay form. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so you've got my details without my consent. Now, I'm not happy about that, obviously. Right now, so the no means to pay form is a contract. So, in other words, somebody's filled out a contract in my name, which I haven't agreed to. In fact, there's a customer declaration at the bottom of the agreement, which says, I acknowledge I've received the above fuel, and I am unable to pay in full. But I was able to pay in full. I was able to pay in full. But anyway, I didn't sign that document. I didn't sign that declaration. I didn't print my name on it. It's not a contract that I've formed. I'm happy to pay. You know, I'm not a thief. Okay, I'm happy to pay. And those coins are the legal definition of payment. I don't know why you don't accept them. Sainsbury's in Exeter didn't have any trouble taking them.
Yeah, no, I'll just, on that one, let me clarify that for you, because I've watched your video, so I kind of understand, understand what you're trying to achieve, I guess.
Yeah.
We're very clear, we don't accept that, and it is our right to decide whether we do or don't accept that means of payment. So unfortunately, we won't be able to accept it in that manner. Now, you obviously know that there are some difficulties behind this form of payment. The banks, I don't think, will accept them from my limited knowledge.
Yeah.
And as a result, our policy is we are unable to accept that tender. Now, we could debate all day whether they are legal tender or not.
We could simply clarify that by just... We can clarify that by just stating that they are legal tender. We don't need to debate it, do we? Because it's a fact.
Yeah, okay, but the other fact is, our policy is, we don't accept that tender.
Okay, so What you need to think of though, Paul, did you say your name was?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Paul, is your policy doesn't trump legislation. So when you entered a contract with me where you allowed me to take the fuel and then it was measured out in litres and pounds sterling with the agreement that I go and pay after I finish fueling, which I did. I went and offered payment in the required tender. The required tender is pounds. Yeah, that's the only thing you can't really refuse to accept, because it exactly fulfills the terms of the contract. So by refusing to accept it, you've kind of broken the contract.
Yeah,
so you might say that it's not your policy to accept them. But I mean, I'm guessing that you're making that decision for your store, and you probably haven't spoken to the directors of Sainsburys.
Oh, no.
And spoken to your legal. Hang on, and spoken to your legal.
That for you.
Hang on. And you probably haven't spoken to your legal department about that, have you? So you're kind of making that decision. And yet, as I sort of said on the video, the Queen said that these are legal tender for payment throughout the United Kingdom.
Yeah, and we don't. To be honest, I don't challenge you on that at all.
Okay.
It may well be that they are legal tender, but I'm very clear, having checked our policy myself, and it is very specific that we don't accept commemorative coins as tender, because the majority of time they're collector's items, and we are unable to bank them. So essentially, it's us saying, you have the fuel for nothing. Yeah, well, no, unfortunately, that is our position.
Well, it's not, is it? Because you've got the coin. You would have had the coins if you hadn't thrown them back through the car window. So it's not like I've had the fuel for nothing. How can I have had the fuel for nothing?
Yeah, I'm not saying you had the fuel for nothing. I'm saying we are unable to realise the payment for that fuel.
Yeah, but that's the dispute you need. That's a dispute. That's a dispute with the banks, you see, and the banks are making that decision off their own back. There's no legislation that the banks can use to enforce that. And you might look on the Royal Mint website where it says shops and banks don't have to accept these coins, but they're being ambiguous with the truth there, because they're saying that for normal transactions that you can choose what type of payment you can accept. But in the case of a debt where somebody owes you money, you're obliged to accept legal tender for payment of the debt. You can refuse to accept it, but it negates the debt. And that's what would happen if it ends up going to court. Because the court is a Crown Court, isn't it? Which is like by the Queen. Yeah, the Crown Court is not going to rule against the Queen when she's stated that the coins are for payment throughout the United Kingdom. So you'd end up losing cost. I'd still have to pay for the fuel, and I'd be paying with those coins. Yeah, and I'd imagine you'd have to pay all the costs as well, because I'm within the law. If you have a look in the comments section on my videos, there's a man called John Scott. Yeah, now he's Queen's Counsel. Yeah, if you Google him, you'll see how senior he is as a lawyer. Yeah, and you can see from that unless you've got clear signage up saying that you don't accept certain pieces of certain currencies or certain tender, then the assumption is that you accept all legal tender. Do you understand that? If you're saying that that you accept payment for the fuel after the event, and the payment is required in pounds sterling, then you need to accept pounds sterling in all its legislated forms, including £100 coins, £50 coins, £20 coins. Do you understand that?
It's not for me to understand or not, sir. I'll be honest. My job is to operate within the policy that my company set out, and I've been pretty clear with you about what that is. Now
but you weren't clear with me. You weren't clear with me at the pump, though, Paul. When I filled up, you need to be clear at the pump before you fill up. That's when you need to be clear. There's no good being clear after the event, is there?
Your question to me was clear at the start of this, which is how do I intend to proceed?
Yep.
And my answer was also pretty clear, which is that if I can take your phone number, I will contact you next week with exactly how we will be proceeding. Is that okay by you?
Well, you've got my phone number, have you, already?
No, I'd need it from you.
No, I'm not giving it. You shouldn't even have my other details. I complained to the police about that, and the inspector rang me up, and he's going to try and resolve the complaint, and it's a legitimate one. The police shouldn't have given you my details. They had no right. And also,
that's one, as you say, that you'll have to take up with the police, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know that's a separate matter, but all the same, if you look on that document, it says about data. Data Protection Act. You know, so I mean, you've got my data. You're a company, and you shouldn't have it. Really, you should have it if I owed you the money, because I had no means to pay, but I did have means to pay. But anyway, look, you know, I'm not an unreasonable. I'm sort of like maybe a bit pedantic, you might say. Yeah, I'm not unreasonable, and I'm happy to even come over and pay with those coins if you change your mind. Yeah, but you know, I'm happy to discuss it.
Contact you?
Well, you can write to me. You've got my address, haven't you? Even though you shouldn't have.
Okay, so, and you're happy, just to be clear, you're happy for me to use that, even though, from what you say, we obtained it in the wrong way. Are you happy for me to use that to contact you?
Well, that's me consenting to you having my my address and my details, isn't it?
But that's, you see my point.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting to a place here where you want to make some information from me, and you're not happy to give me any way to contact you.
Well, how about I contact you again? How about I contact you again next week, once you've had time to think about it and discuss it?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Whether I'll actually know the answers by the time you contact me, you know, I guess we'll have to see what happens there. The thing I'd ask you to bear in mind is, you know, we are in a bank holiday weekend, which means the centre, the business centre that I'll need to talk with, you know, won't really fire back up again until Tuesday. So my ask would be that, you know, maybe Friday or Saturday next week would probably be the time to give us a bell again, and then hopefully I'll know where we're going to go.
All right. Are you working on Saturday next week?
I am indeed. I'm just going to double check my diary while it's in front of me here. Yeah, so I mean, Saturday morning next week would work great for me if it works for you. Yeah,
that'd be okay. One other thing, you said, we're processing it as a drive-off or something like that, didn't you? Yeah?
No, as a non-payment.
As a non-payment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But equally,
doesn't it
just
say,
to reiterate what I've said okay already,
yeah,
is I'll come back to you with how we're proceeding.
Yeah, but doesn't it say on that document there's 7 days?
Do you know what, I've got to be honest, I'm not exactly familiar with exactly what's on the document, so hence why I need to look at it and come back to you. Yeah. Although we'll now have to wait longer than 7 days, because that's the time for you to come back to me.
Yeah. Well,
I guess to be clear is, you know, because I'm sensing this might become an issue, if, you know, we are beyond the 7 days when we speak next Saturday, which clearly we will be, that's not going to null and void anything that we need to do, because ultimately I'm unable to contact you in the meantime, unfortunately.
No, I'm pretty sure that document's not valid anyway. That if you look on the pinned comment in the video, the lawyer sort of like looked at it and said, well, it's not a contract because I haven't signed it, I haven't agreed to it, I haven't written that contract out. That's the whole point of that document, is that it's there's 2 ways to deal with somebody who makes off without payment, either deliberately or because they haven't got payment, So if they drive off deliberately with no intention of paying, then that's theft. So that goes to the police, and the police deal with that as bilking. But if there's somebody who has no means to pay, like he's left his wallet at home, then they're required to fill out this contract, this agreement that you'll come back within 7 days and pay. Otherwise, you breach the contract, and then it's that contract that you would use in court to say, look, we made a contract, we made an agreement, and he breached it by not paying, and then the judge would look at it and say, yeah, he did, and rule in your favour. But what's happened here is neither of those things, is it? Because I paid, and you threw the money back through the window and refused to accept the payment. And that document, because I haven't signed it, it's not a contract anyway.
I guess we'll see how that turns out, sir, because you know, unfortunately my job is to manage the location. It's somebody else's job within the organisation to manage how those things work, hence why there's not a lot of point in me trying to comment, because I need to go and find out exactly where we are to allow me to give you the absolute right answer. Okay.
Well, like I say, I'm happy to come back and give you those coins again and give you another chance to accept them. It's a bit silly that you didn't just keep them and then carry on. rather than give me the coins back, because that means I haven't paid for the fuel then, doesn't it?
As we stand at the moment, yes, the fuel's not been paid for, but like I say, let's have a conversation Saturday next week when we can probably be a bit more specific about, you know, what needs to happen.
All right, Paul. Thanks very much for speaking to me about it.
Problem.
And have a good weekend.
Yeah, Angie, I'll speak to you next week.
All right, bye-bye then.
Yeah, bye-bye.